Welcome to the Matt Cuda Photography Podcast, a podcast that explores nature and wildlife photography in your own backyard and throughout the United States. Welcome back to the podcast. In this episode 11, I'm going to take you with me on a trip that I made recently to Cataloochee, North Carolina. Now, Catalucci, North Carolina is basically a portion of Great Smoky Mountains National Park that has been set aside for tourists and photographers and historical type individuals that have an interest in these things. It's basically a settlement, an old settlement in North Carolina that has been converted into a park. And the reason wildlife photographers would be interested in this park is because this park has an elk population. Rocky Mountain elk actually exist here and now live in the wild here. And they kind of kept it a little bit of a secret for a while. And now after, 15 years, we've seen an incredible growth in that population. And now elk are actually common in North Carolina. So this episode is going to be, a lot of it was done in the field, so the audio quality is not going to be as good. It's going to have a lot of scratchy sounding portions, a lot of background noise. So I ask your forgiveness for that, but I do think it's a good cut at what happened that day. And after it's over, I'm going to just take a couple minutes to kind of summarize the trip, and hopefully you'll find it beneficial. Anyway, without further ado, I bring you Cataloochee, North Carolina. Well, today is an interesting day. I'm actually in my vehicle in the dark. It's just past 5 in the morning, and basically what I'm doing here is heading to Cataloochee, North Carolina. Now, Cataloochee, for those that don't know, is a settlement it was a settlement in North Carolina that is now part of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Now, I only live a few hours from here, and so it's pretty easy for me to scoot down to check it out. This is the first time, however, I've actually been to Cataloochee. Cataloochee is now part of the Park Service. Like I said, it's actually Catalucci Valley. There's a Cataloochee town as well, but the place we're heading is called Catalucci Valley, and I'm told it's a very beautiful place. Now, we're going in February, or I'm going in February. I don't know who we is, but I'm going in February, and this is the time of year where you kind of got your last chance at catching them, the elk with their antlers. This is a big elk area, and North Carolina put elk into this area about 2001, I think. There used to be a lot of elk in this area back in the 1800s. Of course, overhunting with the settlers as they pushed west. And I suspect some of that was just all-out killing, because the elk is a prolific grazer. And they're also traveling herds, and these herds can be quite destructive. They get around buildings, and they go into towns, and they block roads and all this kind of thing. I suspect the farmers had probably had enough of them. But who knows? It could be lack of food. They state that as one of the problems. But anyway, long story short, they've been reintroduced into North Carolina, and they've been here now for, 15 years. 15 years. So they flourished. They have absolutely flourished, which also leads me to believe that it probably wasn't lack of food that killed them off originally. But it's a long trip. It's about a 3-hour trip. I had a horrible situation last night. As I was packing my gear up, I noticed that I didn't have any memory cards. Now, when you're a Canon 7D shooter, that's a big deal, because they only take CF cards, and the only store around here I know that sells CF cards is Best Buy. Well, Best Buy doesn't open until 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So
I actually canceled the trip. I was ready to cancel the trip. I had one CF card, one 8 gig CF card. It was already in my camera, thankfully. But my CF card wallet was completely gone. And I know probably where I lost it. I had done a shoot last Sunday for our church, and in the darkness, I probably dropped it and lost it. And I was just fit to be tied. I mean, there's probably well over $150 worth of CF cards in there. Probably more like $200 worth. Yeah, that was not a good day for me. Not a good day. But I woke up this morning about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, oh, well, I can't go today. And then it hit me. I have one CF card. It's 8 gigs. And guess what else? I've got a laptop. Why was I that dumb? I'm going to be working out of my car anyway today. All I have to do is transfer them over to my laptop while I'm sitting there. And I've got a 16 gig card, right? Because I can just reuse the one I've got. So, yeah, it's not ideal. It kind of stinks, but I'm off. And I was going to leave this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. But because I'm stupid and didn't think about this last night, I'm leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning. Or 4 o'clock in the morning is when I actually left. No, it was about 5, I guess. Anyway, that's the deal. We're heading to Cataloochee. I will hopefully do more notes when I get there. It should be a good little trip if the roads are open. It is February. Could be snow and ice out there. It's pretty high elevation, but I think we're going to be okay. But anyway, until I come back on. Well, I'm here now at the Catalucci Valley area, and I'm telling you what, it was an incredibly adventurous time getting down in here into the valley. I felt like I was crossing 2 or 3 mountains trying to get down in here. Very narrow road, very narrow area in general. There's a beautiful creek here, which I'm crossing over right now. I've actually seen some elk already, literally within 5 minutes after entering the park. I saw a bunch of cows and a couple other calves in the field. I have not seen any bulls at this point. I suspect I won't this time of year. I don't think they've lost their antlers yet. They may have in this area, I'm not sure. But really cool place. There's a really nice church you can photograph here. There's a really nice, I don't know what it is. It's a trout stream, basically. You can fish for trout out in here. Beautiful area, extremely remote. Extremely remote. I haven't been to an area quite this remote in a while. It's probably been a year or so since I've been to an area like this, and I've kind of forgotten what it was like, actually. So far, I'm very impressed with this. Okay, I've got what looks to be about maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 turkeys out here. The turkeys in this area are somewhat tame, I've heard, but not so tame that they're not going to run from you repeatedly. I think I can actually get a shot right here. Yeah, they're a little out of range right now. They're a lot out of range, actually. But you can... There's wildlife to be seen here, let's put it that way. And this is probably wilder wildlife than most photographers are used to. I haven't seen white-tailed deer yet. I suspect I won't, especially with the heavy populations of other critters around here. But that's a large group of turkeys. That's the second flock of turkeys I've seen. But it's kind of a short little thing here. You just kind of gotta wander around and try to keep finding some spots to shoot, which is what I've been doing. And these turkeys out here would make a great subject. I just don't think I can get close enough. they're just wild enough where they really don't like people, and for some reason they're not even used to cars. Although, as far as turkeys goes, they're pretty calm. I mean, generally speaking, you don't even get this close to turkeys. So, yeah, if you could set up a blind out in there or something like that, you could photograph turkeys all day long coming up through here. They're basically working the field out here. This whole area it's a big valley, and it's just these open, just like you'd think in a valley, there's this basically an open area for the animals to feed in. So they're out there feeding quite heavily. Got a heavy frost up here this morning, which looks nice in the photographs, but I can't get a spot where I got the sun illuminating anything interesting. That's just part of the game. It's just part of the game. You gotta do what you gotta do. I'll probably work the elks down here that I've been spotting, and I'll probably not do much with the turkey. I'm looking around a lot here, though. There's a lot of areas up in here. It looks like the Park Service has got some traps out here too. I wonder what they're trying to trap. They're not big traps, so they're not bears, but I think they might be trying to trap coyotes or something out in here. Probably got too many. They probably try to keep the coyotes down, the population down, to protect the elk. It's a somewhat photogenic area. I would not, certain times of the year, this would be a beautiful, in the fall, this would be just stunning. You could get some really nice shots of elk against the leaves and everything, and it's probably a mess to get in here in the fall. There's probably people everywhere. But what they need to do, in my opinion, is they need to carve this out a little bit more and make it a loop. It should be a loop, just like you'd have at Cades Cove or somewhere like that, because that's how you keep traffic moving and all that good stuff. I was hoping to have some elk here in the cemetery area, but no such luck on that. I'm not seeing anything in this field. There's maybe 4 or 5 long open fields that are here, and I don't really see anything worth interest in there. But bear in mind, we're here at a weird time. We're here in February. It's cold. Animals are. There's a buck right there. There's a buck right there, I think. Oh yeah, we got a buck. We got a big old buck right there, baby. He's staring right at me. I'm going to get out of the car. I'm going to attempt to photograph him. I normally would not do this, but I don't have much of a choice. That is a big, big buck. Actually, bull. They're not called bucks. They're called bulls. I'm used to photographing deer. He's working his way up this valley. I'm gonna work my way out around him here. I think we'll get some good shots. I'm just not prepared for this trip because I didn't think I was going to go, and I don't have any of my equipment set up properly. It's really frustrating. I recommend setting up the equipment, even if you think you're not going, just in case something like this happens. You're ready. But I'm going to miss a shot of this guy if I don't hurry up. And that would be a shame because he is a nice, nice bull. I'm going to miss him. I am going to miss this bull. He is looking good too. This is why you always want to be prepared for this type of thing. Alright, I'm going to set up right here. He's cruising. He's looking at me closely. Very closely, a little bit too closely. Alright, I got the... Oh yeah, that is a beautiful specimen. Beautiful. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, this is what photography is all about right here. This is what it's all about, baby. That's just a nice bull. And he's got no radio collar on, so he's I'm only getting a 3/20th of a second here. See, this time of year, I don't know a whole lot about these critters, but this time of year, the bulls are separate from the cows. I'm going to follow this guy right up the valley. He's going to keep on going. He's looking the other way right now. Okay, so I've actually been following this bull for some time now, and he's been moving up slowly up this valley area. Because I'm running low on cards, I don't have any cards today, I've switched to MRAW to give me maximum space. This is a fairly large bull. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 9 points, I guess, or 10 points it looks like. He's leading two females up the valley here. I keep hoping for a little better sunlight, but right now it's pretty overcast, which is okay. I don't mind that, but here's a doe. She's getting in. It's a pretty doe. They're not does, though. I forget what they're called right at the moment, but you'd think I would know that right off the bat, wouldn't you? But I'm not getting 100% in focus photographs here. And part of it's because they're moving a lot. We've got Mr. Bull moving up through here now. I guess these are his females here. He's very protective of them. He's watched me a couple times. Every once in a while he'll just stop and turn and look. Yeah, he's looking pretty good now. Okay, now we got some sunlight going on here. We got some sunlight now. It's getting up behind me a little bit now. I'm going to have to change angles or something here. I'm not sure exactly what I'll have to do. I'm not in a hurry to get out of my car. You want to be careful when you're shooting. When you're shooting animals that are potentially dangerous. If you can stay in your car, by all means do it. If you can't, I understand, but the more you can shoot these guys at 300, the better, because you're going to have a lot of problems with. I tell you, it is hard to get this booger in focus, though. Oh, man, no way. I'm going to have to move down the valley some more. Again. I plan on making a day of this anyway, so we're going to get plenty of shots today. But use common sense. Keep your distance from these animals. Use your car as a blind as much as possible. It puts them more at ease. There's no reason to scare them. I'm coming up on the turkeys again now. What I'm going to try to do is move down here a little farther down the field. Along the road, I'm going to set up and let them come to me. It's best if you can do that. I mean, if you can let the animal come to you, one, you know that they feel safe in coming toward you. And two, you're not making them too nervous, because I think that's a big problem, is making them nervous. I'm going to pull off right here. I'm actually going to get out of my vehicle. And maybe we'll just wait for him to come up the valley. Let's move on down the valley. And what I'll do is I'll come up just short of the turkeys down here, and let them walk toward me. There's not really any good places to pull off here, unfortunately. It's one of my pet peeves about places like this where they don't have enough pull-offs. what we can do is we can set up down here by the turkeys. And, oh yeah, here's a good spot right here. There's probably, I gotta watch my fuel too. I can't be here all day because I really can't be here all day because I gotta watch my fuel. Either that or I've got to get out of the vehicle. Start getting out of the vehicle and shooting in that direction. But what you want to do is pull down in here to the far end and just let them walk to you. At least that's what I'm going to do. Shut your vehicle down and let them walk to you.
Okay, well, that was pretty much it for the trip to Cataloochee, cut off short there at the end. Some takeaways from this trip. It was a good trip. It was a tough and somewhat dangerous trip. So if you're afraid of heights or you don't like the mountains, you probably shouldn't go to this location. There are a lot of elk here. Later on in the day after this, I shot for a couple more hours and went down and photographed a lot of the cows. And I'll put some links in the show notes to the cows. One thing I wanted to say about this trip, I was shooting with my 7D, and there was a lot, and I mean a lot, of focusing issues. And this is a common complaint with the 7D. It's a combination of a couple of things. One, you're shooting early in the morning, and so all those shots of the bull elk, unfortunately, most of them did not come out. Were not in focus. And that's a problem with autofocus in early morning a lot of times. Switching to manual can help. Having a better autofocus system on your camera can help. But the 7D is particularly known to have these types of problems. And so there are solutions online that you can try. Some people will remove the battery from the 7D completely, the clock battery and the regular battery, and kind of force it to do some kind of weird reset. I don't know if it seems to work. It seems to help. But if you do have the 7D, I recommend some of these approaches to getting better images. Since then, I've shot with the 7D using these techniques of taking the batteries out and all that, and it seems to be working well. So just a heads up on that. I'll probably be returning to Catalucci sometime in the fall during the rut. The rut is the best time to photograph elk because this is a time when the males are more photogenic and so on. So hopefully I'll get to that soon. This week I'm not going to do a Know Your Subject segment just because this is kind of a long and tough episode to get through. But I wanted to, even though it was rough cut and audio is kind of bad, I want to throw it out there because I think, at least for me, it's beneficial to be able to get someone else's perspective on a location before you go. And so if you're in North Carolina and you want to go there, you kind of get a feel for it now. You know what to expect. So I'll probably do more of these types of casts in the future. Getting ready to head down to Florida here in a few weeks, and I'll probably do a special podcast episode on that. I'll be heading to Gatorland and some of the Orlando Wetlands Park. Probably go back to Black Point Wildlife Drive or the Merritt Island area, and so I'll have a full recap of that. Anyway, thanks for listening. Make it a great day, and get out there and enjoy nature. Bye-bye. Music for this episode was provided by Dr. Turtle.